If you own property in California, Prop 19 is the biggest issue you and your family might face. So we want you to understand what it is and to take action. So what is Prop 19? Well, Prop 19 is now part of the California Constitution, believe it or not. It was passed by voter initiative in the 2020 election, and it essentially undid Prop 58. So Prop 13 still exists. Prop 13 still limits property tax increases to about 2% per year, as long as you're living, as long as you hold on to a property. But what Prop 19 undid was not actually Prop 13, but it undid Prop 58. So Prop 58 was passed in the mid or early 80s by a huge majority of voters, and it essentially allowed parents to pass their primary residence plus up to $1 million in assessed value properties in rentals or a second home, whatever, to their kids with no change in property taxes. So essentially, it allowed Prop 13 to exist between parents and their children. Prop 19 gutted this. It essentially ended, well, it literally ended Prop 58. Many of you might be aware of this, but I think it's important to go over the details again. Prop 19 essentially undid Prop 13 protections when properties go from mom and dad to their kids. That's a really important concept. Prop 13 does exist, but this is essentially an attack on Prop 13 for California families that want to stay here for more than one generation. So let's go into some details of how Prop 19 affects the primary residence and how it affects the rentals or a vacation home or second property if you're fortunate enough to have that. So Prop 19 essentially guts property tax protections between generations. And there's a lot of misconceptions out there. I think when Prop 19 passed, people assumed that, oh, well, my home is at least protected. And that's not true. There's some limited protections from reassessments for the primary residence, but there are no protections for rentals or business property or anything like that. They're fully exposed to reassessments when they pass from parents to children. So some details here. So before February 16, 2021, when Prop 19 became law, mom and dad parents could pass their primary residence to their kids. No change in property taxes. It didn't matter if the kids lived there. It didn't matter how much the house was worth. It didn't matter how much the gap between the assessed value used to calculate property taxes was versus the fair market value was. No matter what, kids got to take mom and dad's house and keep it in the family with the same property taxes. In addition to that, the former law allowed you to pass up to $1 million in assessed value property, not fair market, but assessed value property to your kids with no change in property taxes. So you could have, a fourplex or a duplex worth $2 million, but if the assessed value was $1 million, that would be fully protected, would go to the kids. What happens now, as you can see, as of February 16th, 2021, this is all gone. The primary residence now has very limited protections, and only if a child lives there within 1 year of mom and dad passing away. So for the primary residence, if it's mom and dad's house, if mom and dad, if it's not their residence anymore, there are no protections. If it was mom and dad's residence, and if one or more children live in the house after mom and dad pass away, $1 million in fair market value of the house is protected from a reassessment. I'll give some specific examples, but let's imagine a $2 million house with a $500,000 assessed value. If mom and dad pass away, goes to their kids. If their kids move in, you take the $500,000 assessed value, add $1 million to that, $1.5 million. That would be protected from a reassessment. But if the house is worth $2 million, that leaves $500,000 still exposed to reassessment. Property taxes would go up by $7,000 per year. And your kids have to live in the house. And technically, if they ever move out of the house and the county finds out about it, the house could be reassessed again at that point. The law didn't really clarify what happens then. We're exploring how different counties are treating that. But the bottom line is protections for the primary residents have been gutted. And if you live in coastal California, the Bay Area, San Diego, Los Angeles County, or any areas where property values are quite high, at $1 million in protection, it's nice, but it might not be even close to enough to allow your kids to afford property taxes after you're gone. And for rental properties, second properties, if you have a cabin up in Tahoe, whatever, very simple now, zero protections from reassessments, unless you plan. I'll talk about what we can do about that later. There are ways to prevent this. But if you don't plan, your primary residence has limited protections. Second, if you're fortunate enough to have rental properties or other properties in California, zero protections from reassessment, whatever they are worth. On the day that mom and dad pass away or the day they give it to their kids, full reassessment property taxes are reset at whatever the property's worth. And in many cases, these increases can be 500%, 1,000%. We've seen literally 5,000% increases in property taxes. Contact us at gilfix.com if you want to explore this in more detail with us. We can very efficiently go through the issue with you and for you and identify the different types of solutions that we have. So thank you so much. I hope you're having a great day. As my mom likes to say, I hope everybody's staying safe, sane, and healthy. Thank you so much. I'm Mark Gilfix. Hope everybody's good.